Well, that's really interesting. Thanks for sharing all that. I have each year tried to incorporate some presentations to elementary school students in my local area before or during or even after. We've been going out on these Nautilus expeditions exploring West Coast National Marine Sanctuaries. And I think that, a lot of the children are fascinated by the role of the ROV pilots. I try to show them an image or two of the controls that you use to operate the ROVs, and I think a lot of children see that and makes them think of video game consoles, and this is kind of real life video game type work that I think a lot of people and students are very interested in understanding better.
Yeah, it definitely is like a video game. You have a couple of joysticks, and the manipulator is sort of a video game like. A big thing is if you play video games, you kind of get an ability to like keep track of where you've been, and that's important for navigating on the bottom.
Definitely. I don't know if there is a view of the controller as you describe it that could be shown briefly in Channel 3, but if that's possible, I'm sure people would be interested to see it.
Sorry, what did you want to see?
Busy.
Did you get that out?
If there's a down-looking view of the controller.
Oh boy.
Oh.
There's a
coming up.
Shoulder.
This video game-looking console that Bob was just describing.
There we are.
Wake it up.
Let me know when you can see.
Maybe she wants to see the controllers.
The bald spot cam.
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't have one over me.
Okay, we can see it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so you can see, the joysticks here. That's what controls Herc. And then this controller over here is what controls the manipulator arm. And it's a, what do you call it? A pantomime?
Teleoperation. It's
like a.
Oops.
It basically mimics.
Hey.
So as the joints in this controller move, the same joints in the arm are gonna move.
Yeah, I think, what do they call those things with the pantomime? I don't forget. It's like interconnected sticks that like you can trace along something and it makes a bigger drawing.
Yeah. There sure is a word for it.
That nobody ever uses anymore.
Teleoperation, but
I'm talking about a drawing tool, like old-fashioned. You trace along with a pencil here and then draw.
It's drawing over there.
Image. Yeah.
Illustrator.
That's right.
I'm just old.
Oh.
But the joints in the arm there's 7, right?
It's a 7-function manipulator. Yeah, it has 7 different joints.
And that's for the Predator arm, correct?
Yeah. So that up in the control van, this thing is called the master.
If you pick it up and put it on your lap, I can use the pilot cam to get a better view of it.
Okay.
Oh, you don't even have to do that. It's right in front of the camera.
I don't know if you can see very good, though.
Yeah, we've got a great view.
We can. Yes. Yeah, we can see. Just everyone who's watching from
that's in the way now.
A slight delay.
Oh, you're doing
video
that thing.
And the audio.
Great.
That is the best view.
Hi, Bob. We can see you.
Yeah. Awesome.
Just what he loves.
He hates this camera.
Well,
hey, there's a bunch of people watching who want to do what you do. So
you can see the master for the manipulator here. So it sort of mimics the look of the arm on the vehicle, which is the slave.
Really interesting. And again, that's for the predator arm, which when you're looking from HertCam is on the right side, and it's doing all the fine manipulations, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
How do you operate Mungo, which is the arm on the left side?
that's through the
Okay,
GUI. We don't actually have a, nice joystick for that. We basically push buttons for which joints should move in which directions.
What's a GUI, Paul?
okay.
Graphical user interface, the same way that we all interact with our computers.
Interesting. So far, I only saw Mungo used once, and that was
so speaking of Mongo,
when we were
you
doing
should
it.
park it where it's not sitting down there.
All right.
So Paul's literally using a mouse right now to move the arm closer into the front porch, as you can see on channel
3.
1. Oh, great.
So what do you go?
You can watch the arm.
So shoulders
on
all the way
screen.
up, wrist is all the way down.
I think you want to go wrist right.
And for everyone watching, there's just going to be a slight delay
More?
between
Yeah.
what you hear them saying and then when you see it on the
keep
video.
going. Okay, now you can give it a wrist down. Might be all the way, but
Yeah, I think it's all the way.
okay. And then elbow down. Carefully.
Not gonna squeeze that cable.
Well, I think that's good right there. Now we're gonna have to move Mongo to get the drawer out, but that's okay. You can live with that.
I think we could bring the wrist up a little bit to the right more and just have it sitting on the front porch, but not in the way of the
Yep, you
tool
can
tray.
do that. Don't pull my plate out.
Yeah.
Do you want me to move a little faster?
Oh,
Oh, nice
So
big jelly there.
when is Mongo usually used? I don't think I've ever seen it used.
very
not that I can
infrequently.
recall.
So the advantage of Mongo is that you can use it to hold on to things that you don't want to lose. So it's good at grabbing onto something, and then we don't have to have the hydraulics alive in order for it to hang on to it. So the other manipulator, if you take the hydraulic power away from it, it just goes limp, and it would let go of whatever you were trying to hold on to. So it has its uses, but I think we get a new vehicle, it's going to have 2 arms that are upgrades from what the Predator is.
Wow, that'll be cool to see. I helped to fill in a few watches for the Channel Islands and Santa Lucia bank dives that happened earlier in the week. And
Yeah,
Mongo was
But
employed. We were taking a
you're limited in what you can do there, you know?
Yeah.
So it was okay the way you had it.
Now I have to figure out how I had it before.
I mean, just sitting with,
Yeah,
just go right with the wrist and then wrist all the way down, and then you have to do it with elbow.
So Steve, at what depth were we supposed to collect water
Is that all right?
samples for
We're going to start at
the
1,000,
other end?
so we have another 320
Probably
meters to
just
go.
Go more
Okay.
wrist right, just so that it's not sitting on the plate in case we need to
Yeah.
get rid of the plate.
Do we want it against something so it stays put?
It's fine.
Okay.
It's Mongo. It stays put.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, this has been really informative. I'm sure there's lots of folks who watch these dives and are just fascinated to learn more about how the ROV functions and how the pilots are able to do such fine kind of movements and the dexterity you show when you're using,
You can
particularly
do
the Predator arm.
Niskin.
Are we ready for it? Or?
No, I'm just saying we got 300 meters to go, but
Yeah.
so you're ready.
Yeah.
And then, so which ones are we doing? You're gonna do number 4. Right? So the orange one.
I play around and get comfortable with the hydraulics.
Yep, that was kind of the,
Cool.
that's where I was going with that.
Steve, how is the water process for the microplastics? Is it run through a pump or just a kind of a gravitational filter?
We use a vacuum pump, and we use specialized filters for the microplastics analysis.
They taught you that way, huh?
Could you hear that doorbell?
I just wanted to feel both. So what's your method, Bob? You go like almost.
I put it so the arm it sits like this, right? So to me, it makes sense to put the master so that it matches the slave.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the movements are right. You're moving from the way it is, so all the joints going. If you're that way, you're like upside down. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's oddball, but I guess it's what you get used to. But
Yeah.
it's also you don't have the like if you're working off the bottom, then you have more support. You know.
Yeah.
You can do finer
adjustments.
If you're up here, you're
when the
wobbly.
ship moves. Yeah.
Yeah. So people do it this way because you can see the buttons, right?
Mm.
But I know where the buttons are.
Yeah.
I can look on there and see where the buttons are.
I'm curious if y'all can hear me.
So you also got to watch
Sure
out.
can.
If you put your arm across the
Okay,
screen,
great.
you can hit the buttons,
Hmm.
and that changes the function of the arm, like in the middle of doing stuff, and then you
Yeah.
hit the button, and then it's like.
Oh. And so for doing a Niskin, what's your approach here? As you go.
So you just need to go out and then, swing in like that.
Do you elbow up at all or no?
I
guess you have.
I don't think I think about it like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Paul, are you going to be firing the Niskin for us when we get to 1,000 meters?
Yep.
That is the plan.
And is this the first time you've done that?
It's the first time I've done a Niskin, yeah.
Oh, great. I think that's one neat thing people might notice when following Nautilus dives is that a lot of training happens along the way. People are learning new skills on a regular basis. There are a series of, it seems like, students and interns generally that are coming through the program and learning all the different roles on board the vessel. I know it's probably a little different this year, but that's one thing I've really noticed about and think's really neat about Ocean Exploration Trust is how many students, graduate students are involved and how much training is taking place.
Yeah, so last year I came out as an intern, and then this year I came back as a Argus pilot, so.
And then you're learning skills related to operations of Hercules while you're on board this year, seems like.
Yeah, exactly.
And same thing happens with the data loggers and the science lab, right, Steve?
Yeah, I didn't hear the first part of that. What was it?
Oh, just the training component. I believe Taylor Ann, who is part of the team this year, may have been on board already
You can
last
fire it
year.
up and run
Yep.
it.
Yeah, I think last year was that year for her. But
And Mary's also on the team. Is this her first year or is she returning?
this is her first year also. Yep. Yeah, we usually have at least one
You can start
returning
getting it over there
science
'cause we're not
logger,
too far away.
one science manager, and usually one new data logger. So try and keep different tiers of experience. But for example, next cruise we have folks coming on board that are all new. So it varies.
So you need to get that up like that. Just be careful of the lens, of course.
Am I near the other like lights and bubble and stuff, or no?
Yeah. So you need to get this kicked out more, and then stay low because you could see it in the bubble cam.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you get it close to it. Oops.
Yeah.
So we're currently at 1,170
So
meters.
you gotta kick the wrist up, and then tuck in the elbow, and then swing inboard with it, sticking like out like that. Yep.
So we're getting ready
So
when we get
so
to
this
1,000
is like
meters.
you have it too cocked over. You know what I mean? You need to get the wrist more straight. Yeah. And then tilt it up. Yeah. And then come in. You got to come up a little bit. And then out with the elbow.
Out with the elbow?
You need to come open the elbow up so that you're stretching out to come over
Oh,
here.
yeah, yeah.
We're going for Niskin 4 next.
Steve, what sample number are we on?
This is going to be 033.
Thank you. If you're looking at the Herc cam, you can see that Paul's getting
So that's what I'm going
the credit
for, right?
arm lined up.
Yeah. You probably want to grab it though,
Yeah. No, I know. Are we ready to?
We got 132 meters to go.
So when we get to 1,000 meters, Paul's going to pull that orange
How come
lanyard
the
and
wrist
close
is not
Niskin bottle number 4.
spinning?
Because there's two different modes. So one's the rocker,
Yeah.
and one is doing this.
Oh. Can I do the rocker? How do I
So in order to switch, you gotta switch that button right there.
Okay.
Now it'll do a rocker.
We're all lined up to collect a water
So just
sample
hold
using a
here for
Niskin bottle.
100 meters or so?
Only got 100 meters to go. So.
Yeah.
If you're looking at the quad cam in channel 3, you can see those Niskin bottles. The 3 that are furthest from the camera are closed, and the 3 that are closest to the camera are open. Water is flowing through them right now. And when Paul pulls that orange lanyard on the number 4, that bottle will close, capturing a sample of water from 1,000 meters down. That will then travel to the surface with Hercules, be recovered, and then processed in the science lab on board the ship for microplastics. We don't know how many microplastics may be in the water. Call them out here above Davidson Seamount at 1,000 meters. So that'll be really good information to start to better understand the amounts of these small microscopic plastic particles in the water. Steve, have you been helping process the samples for microplastics? Wonder if you could tell us a little bit about what you do once you get this water to the lab.
Yep. Yeah, we've been spending we've been averaging between 2 and 4 hours to process most of the dive samples. So first we spend about 15 minutes to a half an hour making sure all the samples get off the vehicle. Any biology samples, we want to make sure we get enough seawater so that they can stay cool. They remain in the fridge until we can get to them. Water samples come off about the same time, also into the fridge as space permits. And then we'll just go through one by one. The general series of processing is documentation. So we do initial descriptions, we do photo images. We then try to pull off any associates, if there are any, and associate those organisms with that sample so they can be used for identification or ecological studies.
9. Okay.
And then after that, we typically will parse out the sample for the different interests for that sample. So usually if there are just one interest, it'll go to, for example, if it's a coral or a sponge, it'll go to the primary repository. In this case, it's either CAS, Cal Academy, or Harvard MCZ, Museum of Comparative Zoology. And we'll parse that out for whoever requests fragments of that or pieces of that sample. And then from there, yeah, we'll preserve it according to their protocol directions.
Oh.
And then we have a couple of other different types of processing we do. We do geology processing, which is very similar, usually rocks that come up with samples. We
I
will
want to increase Argus's speed a little bit.
Well, we're going to come to a stop here in a second.
Oh, okay.
We'll just take images and then put them out to dry. We also do water filtering. There's a couple different methods for that. Obviously, we mentioned eDNA earlier and microplastics, but we also filter water for particulate organic matter if it's requested. And then we do process push cores on deck as well. Really, we're just trying to look for major strata, so we're trying to partition them out into several centimeters or sometimes 1 centimeter segments, siphoning off the water and then putting the sediment into different bags based on the size, the depth fraction rather. So all of this will take us, typically about 2 to 4 hours after the vehicles come up, and then we'll take that data to the lab and then start entering it.
Thanks for that great description. And it looks like we did take one sediment core on this dive, so there will be one of those to process. Our plan is to fill all these niskins by the time we surface. 3 of them, the first 3, were used to collect water to look at environmental DNA or eDNA around areas of high coral abundance and diversity. So we had 3 of those. So see, will one of these water column niskins also be used as the blank for the eDNA?
Yeah, actually, I was just writing that down myself. So this is going to be a blank. This sample we're taking right here.
Gripper too, right?
Yeah,
Great.
that's just what you get.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. You want to do like you do?
So watch the quad view if you want to see, or channel 3 if you want to see the niskin close.
There it goes.
So we got it, right?
Yep.
So that's our 1,000 meter water sample.
You could just leave it there. We got 2 more to do.
I'm happy to practice stowing it.
Okay.
You come over on the Zeus cam whenever is easy.
So as we mentioned, Jan and I are at home. It's Saturday morning here in California. And
Is mine a safe place
noting
now? Shoulder up, like this is where we stow it?
Yep.
Is it Saturday?
It is Saturday. No, it's Sunday.
Bummer.
That's serious. Like we don't even know what day it is out here.
Yeah.
Well, obviously I barely do. I know, but I've been up 8 to midnight, and it's just trying to get it all worked out. But Jan said she's muting a little bit because there's some coffee making and dog barking sounds on her end, and I'm muting and unmuting, but there's a lot of activity at our front door with children coming and going, and so.
Is this where we stow it?
Sorry.
Yep.
If you hear interesting sounds in the background.
Okay. And then hit this button, do the blue
Yep.
button.
Yep.
Yeah, if you want to hear the lattes being, the lattes are being made, cats are being fed, dog is now quiet because he just got fed.
I'll do numbers again briefly while we're...
Can I put in an order for a latte?
Sure can. Do you want regular milk or almond milk, with or without cinnamon?
Wow, sounds like you've got a good barista there.
Yes, his name is John. He is my barista.
So earlier in the day, we were talking about some of the other things we explored during the Central California cruise, and we were mentioning the whale fall, that we revisited it. And then Steve was just talking to us about processing samples. And I think Dan and I were probably a little bummed out to not be on board because it would be really interesting to see some of the whalebone samples that we collected this year and the baleen that we collected this year. And we didn't get a chance to see those in person, but maybe
I did get to see those in person. They are in my garage, in my refrigerator right now downstairs.
Oh, okay.
Yes, very, very cool. Very cool. Everything is so much smaller than it looks on screen because you have that 10 centimeter lasers, the width between the two green dots, and that's about 4 inches, almost 4 inches. And I think, 10 centimeters, and me being the American that I am, I'm thinking, 10 inches. But no, everything is so small, so petite, and it just looks really, really large on camera, on this video screen. But yeah, I have the baleen, all of the different whale bones except for the humerus. The humerus is, I think, still on board Nautilus right now.
Yep. Yeah, we still have it for trying to get some more worms out of it.
So I think the humerus, so that's the upper arm bone of the whale, had more than one kind of bone-eating worm. My recollection, it had some of the thinner tubed, shorter worms that we saw when we first found the whale fall. So I can't say if they're the same species, but they have a similar appearance. But then we also saw some much larger in diameter and taller tube worms, these are bone-eating worms. And Steve could.
We lost her.
How big were they?
Oh, right back. So where's the next one? 500?
2.
200.
Yeah, now they made... Definitely going to have to discuss the whole sunlight thing with the bridge.
Roger. Yeah, they've slightly changed heading, but it's still
Made it. Yeah, so now
just as bad.
Neither of those positions are...
Yeah, I think we'll see what they think about going right in the current.
Sorry, Steve, if my question was breaking up. I think you may have answered it, but I couldn't hear you. I'm back now. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So did you answer the question about the bone worm?
Yeah, I didn't hear the end of your question, but yeah, we still have the humerus on board, and since it had those 2 different looking worm species, we thought it would be prudent to let the specialist who's describing these new species of Osedax to take a look through. And it's one of the least friable bones that we sampled. For that reason, it's very hard to get the worms out without mangling them and ripping them out from their roots, so to speak. So we're going to let him take a look through when he gets on board in a few weeks, or even sooner now. So the 27th, I think, is when they come on board.
Okay. Could you give us some comparative sizes between the smaller ones and the larger ones?
Yeah, it's a big difference. The smaller Osidex look like angel hair pasta kind of thickness, and the larger ones are more like it's a good food metaphor.
Penne pasta?
No, they're even thicker than that. They're a pretty good size diameter. They're at least 1 centimeter in diameter, but they're very gelatinous. It reminds me of squid eggs, if you've ever seen those.
Yep, she just dropped off. Just got back on.
Yeah, I had asked Steve a question, how they manage their sleep time in between their regular shifts and processing all the samples. At least one of them is working while they're supposed to be sleeping.
Yeah, it's a juggle. We've been really lucky so far in that folks have had the energy to push through sampling, but yeah, someone usually is always losing sleep, especially if it's at a nighttime recovery. So we end up we've past couple dives had a really good rhythm. We've been recovering in the daytime, early morning or early evening, and hasn't impacted folks too much, but there's always a juggling act. But also we haven't been spending, 2 to 4 hours maximum is the time we spend sampling. The last cruise up in Olympic Coast, it was pretty routine to have 4 to 8 hour at times sampling processing because of the number of cores we were doing. And those cores require a lot of time when you're sectioning them one by one. You have multiple different assays you're trying to preserve for.
And up there in Olympic Coast, you're also looking for meteorite fragments at one point, right?
Yeah, that was the first dive, and it was an interesting tool, that magnet. I think there were a bunch of small magnetic shavings, it looked like, that we were able to extract off of the large magnet, and the scoop. We ended up. Well, did we do it? No, we didn't do a scoop. We did a
The dredge.
the dredge. Yeah. The result was the same. It was like a filter full of magnets that we shipped back to NASA for analysis.
Interesting. So is a dredge kind of like slurping the seafloor?
It's kind of like gold mining. We just slurped up a bunch of mud and passed it over an array of magnets so that the magnets would catch the magnetic parts in the what do you call it when you're gold mining, and your sluice box.
Right, that's definitely one technique, sluice boxing.
Yeah.
One of my children was recently in 4th grade, and they were learning California history, including the gold rush. So one of the assignments was different techniques for finding gold. So sluice boxing is definitely one.
That was the idea that we had. So I think that worked out okay.
Have you ever done anything like that before?
I don't know. We didn't do that last time. Yeah, that was a first time attempt at that. Did we get a lot of stuff doing that, Steve?
It was tough to tell. They really didn't want us manipulating it too much.
Yeah.
We were just tasked with washing out some of the biology so it didn't stink,
Right.
putting it under nitrogen gas so it didn't oxidize, and sending it back.
Okay.
And for the other samples with the magnet, they wanted it immersed in a small amount of water so it wasn't exposed to air, the oxidation issue again. My eye couldn't tell if there were any large meteorite pieces. Nothing that I would identify as a meteorite, but I'm guessing anything that blew up or sank to the bottom was probably pretty small and microscopic.
Yeah.
Do they know how large the original size was? Any estimates?
Do you remember that, Sam?
Sorry, one more time?
How big the meteorite was?
Oh gosh, that number is no longer in my head, but it is on the Nautilus Live website in 2018 expeditions for sure. Or actually, it's probably on the 2020 expedition overview blog too, for the Olympic Coast cruise. It was a very big meteorite.
The original, because I remember them going in past year to first try and find a meteorite, and for some reason I thought that was last year, but it was 2 years ago in 2018.
That's correct. Yeah, the first attempt at meteorite recovery was in 2018 by Nautilus. And some of those fragments that were sampled were optimistically potentially meteorite fragments. There was also a cruise in 2019 by the Schmidt Ocean Institute's Falkor to the same site with the same NASA folks that we had been working with. They also collected some fragments. And then the third attempt was this year during the Olympic Coast National Marine Sanctuary cruise. So official results haven't been published from any of those cruises, but the team at NASA, led by Mark Fries, who's the NASA Cosmic Dust Curator at Johnson Space Center, is preparing a manuscript with some of the folks he was working with that on. So as far as we know,
job title.
Yeah, right. And as far as we know, that was the first time meteorite fragments had been collected at sea. That's normally something that's a lot easier to do on land. So
that's great. How exciting!
Stay tuned on that
we're
story.
Looking for a tiny needle in a very large haystack.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But I guess they tracked it really well with weather radar, like right down to the surface of the water, and we're in a very shallow place. Like it was only 50 meters or something.
Yeah, it was a pretty incredible use of geospatial data to figure out where it could have landed. And it was kind of funny, the first time we went down, I think, everyone's thought was that we were going to see this like giant boulder style meteorite. And the reality is that we were in an area with really soft sediment. So even if there was something large, it probably went into the sediment. And the fragments that we collected were, smaller than fingernail sized. So there was definitely some adjusting of expectations, even from Mark as the Cosmic Dust Curator. There was a lot of like, oh, okay, maybe we've been a little too excited about the idea of like big meteorite pieces. It was kind of fun to see some of the canisters that he had brought, hoping to be collecting like large meteorite fragments, and ended up going home with like a little Ziploc. He actually brought, this is kind of cool, like one of those, basically like a mini keg, because he needed something that was airtight, and he was hoping to get something that was quite a large sample, but again, ended up with some smaller fragments, so
yeah,
we never know sometimes for anything. Yeah.
Right, better to have
better,
it, not
better
use
to go too large. Yeah.
Exactly.
Better. Yeah.
But Ziploc was airtight enough for the smaller fragments. Is that right?
I didn't hear that question.
A Ziploc with
Oh,
airtight enough?
I think I don't think it was an actual Ziploc. It might have been a sample bag. Yeah. Whirl pack.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sam, when
Sorry.
you didn't hear that question, did it sound like breakup on V-Link 2?
Yeah, it did.
I got it very clearly here.
Okay.
So that's getting weird. We're
That's
cursed.
good.
It's 2020.
Are you
Yep.
saying that you could hear me, Al?
Perfectly.
And Samantha couldn't?
Right.
Oh, wow.
This mystery gets deeper.
Ba-dum-bum.
Well, it should be.
Actually, it's getting shallower now.
Yeah.
It's getting shallower.
Well, you know, one thing, Al, I was thinking about is during the Pioneer Canyon dives and the Octocone whale fall, I didn't have much problem with my audio. It seems to have gotten worse later for me and for some of the other members of the team. Like this past, say, week has been more challenging than the first week.
Oh boy.
I wonder why that is.
Yeah, last night was incredibly challenging. I felt like the cinnamon raisin bagel sponge. It was. But we're finding at times it's beautiful. Like the end of the watch last night, it was, I think, the last 30, 40 minutes, crystal clear. Which is making me think it has something to do with satellite traffic and band allocation, or bandwidth allocation. So we have more research to do, but something strange here going on. And for Sam to not hear your question, for you to break up in her ear but sound perfect in my ear, wow. That's, I'm going to have to bring in the big guns on this one.
So,
Al,
one thing for you, I think you're probably going to tell them what I was going to say. Go ahead, Jan.
Oh, I was just going to say, Al, earlier this morning when it was really kind of robotic and loud and kind of like almost feedback, but not really feedback, I was listening through my earpiece on SPL. And then I also went to the Inner Space Center feed, and Jen sounded perfect. Everybody sounded perfect on inner space feed, and yet at the same time, or just like a half a second delay on SPL, she was very robotic and very broken up. So there's another little nugget of the piece of the puzzle for you to try and figure out.
I feel like I should be wearing a fedora and a trench coat.
Well, we can add to that. During that time when that was happening, Gian and I were hearing these kind of robotic feedback sounds, kind of that almost like they're not constant. They're more like sounds that I don't think you all are hearing. So we definitely have different.
And Jen, I could hear you doing that right now.
Yeah, I was doing that.
Yeah. I don't know.
To us, it was a little bit of
mysteries
static.
of V-Link.
Oh, no kidding.
But hopefully you'll get your wizards on it.
No.
You might have to get wizards from all the houses. Hufflepuff, Slytherin, Ravenclaw, Gryffindor. Just get them all on that.
Dumbledore's getting called up for this one.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That would be the tech reps from RTS, the company that makes it.
Okay. Right. Makes sense. Okay, we're still ascending here over the southwestern part of Davidson Seamount in Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary. We're coming up on 566 meters. When we get to 200 meters, we're going to close another Niskin bottle to capture a sample. And until then, we're just chatting about operations, science, etc. Unfortunately, this year we have very limited ability to take your questions through the website.
want to make sure I've got this right. That strange robotic sound that you got was on SPL on V-Link, but not on the backdoor feed from the Inner Space Center.
That's correct.
Okay.
And I happened to notice it the most when Samantha was talking. I heard it last night too, Al, when we were really having a lot of audio problems. I was getting a lot of that laser type sounding feedback.
When Samantha was speaking.
In particular, but I was also talking to her a lot about trying to figure out our route, so it may just be that I was talking to her the most.
She just walked out, and suddenly V-Link sounds perfect.
I think you're too quick to say that.
I heard rumor when I walked out last night it cleaned up.
Yeah, I think you're too quick to jump on that.
That doesn't make a difference. It's a coincidence.
We're very good at looking for patterns in the data, right?
Yeah, we're looking for patterns, and there really is no pattern. The only pattern I did notice is that very late at night it seems to be clean. From what I understand, the 48 watch had clean V-Link. I still have yet to find out if the 12 to 4 had clean V-Link.
I heard some of the 12 to 4, and I looked at the science chat. It appeared that there were times that maybe particularly Erica Burton had some V-Link issues, but for the most part, I could hear them both pretty well. They did choose not to have the third person come on to field questions. Instead, they had the questions going through the science chat, just in case that would have made the audio issues worse. But I think for the most part, they had better audio quality than we did on the 8 to 12.
Okay, well, smoke signals would have been better than an 8 to 12 watch last night.
Yeah.
That was a rough one.
It was.
One way or another, we're going to get to the bottom of this and either find a way to fix this or another solution. Communications.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get this working more reliably and smoothly, it probably opens up even more options for you related to science engagement and telepresence in the future, I would think.
And more enjoyable experience for others just watching from home who enjoy following Nautilus live. Oh, Sam just came in. It's my chance.
Al, do you know what Embari uses? Don't they use a different system?
I don't know what they've used. I don't. Well, I've got to find out and ask. So, Sam, when you walked out, it got very clean, the audio.
No, it didn't.
Yes, it did. Bob's your friend. He's been defending you. It got very clean and it didn't last.
It got really bad again.
So there's no pattern. Just like when I walked out last night, it got clean. And then
Well, thanks, Bob. I'll take back all those things I said about you outside.
So, Sam, how's the weather out there at Davis-Encino this morning so far?
It's quite gorgeous. Maybe we can get a bow cam for you on Channel 3.
Channel 3 bow cam coming up.
It's quite balmy. It's a lot nicer than it was when we had to leave Davidson.
Right.
It does look pretty out there.
Yes, we were chased out about a week ago.
Yes.
You guys should go talk to the bridge. Should I go talk to the bridge?
Yes. You're the big cheese.
If you want to talk to the bridge, go for it. But I can talk to the bridge as well.
You can't?
I'm just going to wait for us to do the next couple of Niskins.
Then we're on the surface by then.
So normally we start
3 300.
The ship moving at 300. Do you want to start before then?
Oh, I just don't want to have a confusing conversation about the sunlight and the currents and we can't do that. And then, I just don't want that.
Okay, I can talk to them right now.
Yeah.
So your ideal heading is still...
With the sun not in my eyes.
Great.
I don't care which way they go, just not this way.
Okay, roger. We'll start there.
Left or right in any direction.
Yeah.
So if you want to see the beautiful conditions out over Davidson Seamount, now would be a good time to look at Channel 3 before the ship changes position and we may have sun coming in over the bow. But it does look absolutely beautiful, and you can imagine you would be able to come through this area on board a vessel and have no idea that there was a huge volcanic mountain below you, Davidson Seamount. So
yeah, it's just,
that's why we
I'll
have
need time to get, if he turns the heading significantly, I need time to get back lined up. We'll have to stream ahead and all that.
So is the new van, is it oriented differently on the deck than the older van?
Well, we have 3 instead of 2 now, but yeah, they're the same, oriented the same way they were before, but they're 3 deep instead of 2 deep.
Oh, that's why it looks like it's in a different direction.
I heard rumor that now the interactions between the ship and, say, classrooms on shore will be done from one of those containers.
Wow, okay.
Instead of downstairs.
No, we're going to have to walk it around, so that's okay.
Yeah, I think at least 2 of the Exploring from Shore Nautilus Live segments were done on, I guess there's like a plexiglass, maybe Sam can better explain it, but you could see over the science communication fellow's shoulder, basically the host of the event, and over their shoulder was the rest of the van. So you could see the pilot and all the monitors. You could see the science row behind it.
I'll put that camera up now on channel 3. Doesn't look very different from what I had up before. Aha! Some light from outside.
Let's see.
Oh yeah, because you can see that there was a window there for the chair, so it looked like they were just kind of in the operational portion of the van. That's really cool. Congratulations on that. That's huge improvement.
Nice background.
I know when I was looking at it, I thought it was really cool to see some action kind of behind the host.
Well, that reminds me, Jan, we can mention that so things have been a bit different this year, and we haven't been able to do the same amount of ship-to-shore interactions and things. An additional thing that was added were a bunch of Next on Nautilus and Meet the Team virtual events, and you can look at those events, see there's still some events in the future, including one this Monday called Next on Nautilus, Channel Islands National